Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Lung. With me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. How are you?
I am great. As you can hear, my voice is back. I am back, baby. I'm no longer scraggly-voiced McFadden.
Is that what we called you?
What? Yes. For that one episode of the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, that was my nickname. But you have a TV show for us.
A
TV show that I really like the title of. And
God.
I'm hoping that you enjoyed it too.
Now, okay, I wanna ask you, because you told me last episode what you thought I was going to do, or at least what your idea for this title was, which is, Charlie?
Yes. Well, the title is My Bavarian Boyfriend. And my thought was, you get like a young archaeologist, right? And she or he is like working on some dig in Germany. And she uncovers a completely frozen, intact, like Bavarian soldier. Like, you know, very ancient Germanic soldier. And then she thaws him out and they have like sort of a funny romantic comedy courtship thing. And then he becomes her Bavarian boyfriend. You know?
Okay.
That was
kind of what I did, except maybe slightly different. Do you want would you prefer the characters first, or do you want me to go right into the pilot and discover them as they go?
Give us the characters first. I love the characters.
Okay, so
I want to give them a big kiss.
Our Bavarian is Nico Rosberg, a young mountain climber summiting the Alps for the first times. He's, modern times, so right now, essentially. He's part of a traditional mountain climbing club, and he's wearing full lederhosen and one of those little Robin Hood looking hats.
Yeah.
And he's a very respectful and reserved person who follows the law, but also likes to get roaring drunk and wander. So that's Nico Rosberg. Next we have Princess Valanya Withers, who is an intergalactic pirate princess who has violent mood swings between incredibly sweet and terribly violent, cruel yet merciful, nice yet super mean, beautiful yet extremely terrifying. She's sort of human-looking with a slight blue tint to her skin because she's half human, and her hair occasionally will ignite in flames when she's angry. Then we have Blank Metz, blank as in a blank on the sentence. There's nothing there. He's the ship's latrine cleaner and designated drunk. He looks like a short Wookiee, but that's been sort of not shaved, but has a buzz cut. So if all the hair was buzzed, kind of. So it's there's still hair, but it's very short. But except for the hair by his foot, which is long enough that he can kind of use it as a mop. He's gonna end up as Nico's closest companion. Then we have Praj. Praj is Praj. He's the first mate and super devoted to Valanya, who's the princess and captain of the ship. And he's secretly, but not really in the sense that it's secret, in love with her. So everyone knows, but he pretends like it's secret. And is constantly planning the murder of Nico. He's also terrified of Psych Withers. Psych Withers being the father of Valanya Withers.
Oh
who's
my
essentially,
God.
He's the pirate king and captain. He's an angry pirate lord with dark blue skin, and he's covered in moving tattoos, tattoos that are sort of dancing around on his arm. Cool. If there's a dragon, it's sort of swirling everywhere. Think of him as Darth Vader in terms of how he treats everybody. Just fucking kills people, super mean, angry guy. But when he's with his daughter, he's really sweet and nice. And then we have Palm Quest, Pomquwest. There's a space in between the two names. She's the head navigator. Yeah, she's the head navigator of the ship and closest friend to Valanya, the princess. Kind of suspicious of Nico, but grows to like him. She's very level-headed and overly practical, but we'll go with whatever her best friend / captain commands. Then we have Admiral Roque. Admiral Roque, Roque, is a hardened, crazed military leader who is out to take down the Pirate King and everyone else in his family. basically like
Yeah.
this rogue fleet commander from this empire, which is called the Cardian Empire, which is sort of the main antagonist in this series. Mm-hmm. He's desperately trying to track down both Psyche Withers and Valanya Withers. Very gung-ho, and he's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So gives you an idea of what kind of person he is.
An idea of what's happening, yeah.
Lastly, we have the Twilight Racer, who's essentially like a superhero. He's an epic, space-flying, laser-shooting superhero that is out for Valanya's hand, but he's also kind of has like he thinks it's like a Batman-Catwoman relationship, where like he's the good guy and she's the villain, but they kind of have a thing. But it's not really like that. And he's an overly good-natured and kind person and is constantly getting belittled and annoyed. His real name, by the way, so the Twilight Racer is his superhero name. His real name is Vike. Vike is his first name, and his last name is Twam Blort Quat Vander Jackson Berg-esque Winsey. So that's why he doesn't go by his name, and instead he goes by
That
the
makes
Twilight
sense.
Racer.
I would go by that name if it was my name. I wouldn't go by Vic either. Or Vike.
Do you have any questions before I get into the to the pilot?
I think I understand where this is going, and I like it. So that's all. It's not really a question. It's more of a statement. But I'm excited to see the pilot episode.
All right, episode 1. Nico Rosberg is climbing the Alps in full lederhosen. He's living the dream, feeling great, but also super tired because he's climbing a mountain. He finally reaches the summit, but turns around to see his friends are well behind him. He decides to sit down for lunch and pulls out a big pretzel and a beer. And he's looking over the landscape. It's a perfect, beautiful mountain sprawl that seems super idyllic. And on the end, at the end of his salted pretzel, he's having a great time eating a pretzel, watching the landscape. Takes a few bites and his eyes are drawn towards a cloud that seems like it's kind of moving closer. A lot closer. And he stumbles backwards to see the underside of a purple object poke through the bottom of the clouds. He panics and stumbles even farther back, falling off the mountain. He rips through the air, heading towards a rocky demise before suddenly being pulled back up in like a bungee-like recoil. And he flies violently into the purple object, which briefly comes into view, but it's not super clear. It's just sort of like a purplish shape in the sky before he flies through a little dark hole at the bottom and hits his head on a ceiling. And immediately passes out. So we just see this. It cuts to black, and we cut down to the ground where a single hat sits in the snow with his name knitted on the outside. And as the snow blows away, the title is revealed: My Bavarian Boyfriend. Cut to the medical room, where Nico wakes up to a multi-speckled, multi-eyed, humanoid octopus creature, which is examining him far too closely. Nico panics, obviously, and screams, trying to punch it, but he's quickly restrained by its multiple arms. The octopus yells for the anesthesia, which immediately leads to a small nurse with a giant mallet running over, and she grabs the big old hammer and smashes him on the head. Nico wakes up again after being, smashed in the head with the hammer in a large, decadent bedroom full of jewels. No, wait, not jewels, stars. No, literal stars. Not just a little, there's actual little stars in these little, bottles all around the room. There's guns and swords. Both look like, insane. Some of them look kind of similar to stuff we have, but some of them are just,
crazy space
seem like a bunch of random lines and shit. And taxidermy space monsters as well. So there's these horrifying creatures all around the room. But it's well decorated enough that it doesn't seem like terrifying. It's just sort of like very strange, Yeah. There's ugly looking monsters in there, but they make sense in the decor. So it's not something that would freak you out once you woke up. And the bed is really comfy, and as he wakes up, he steps on the floor, and the floor has the smoothest rug that he's ever felt in his life, and he instinctively wants to press his face against it. And then a woman's voice, as he's pressing his face against the rug, asks if he likes the rug, and he says it's like the smoothest, most amazing thing he's ever felt. And she says it comes from a giant space serpent. He then asks if it must have been a massive space serpent if this is all of its skin, because it's this big carpet that's covering the whole floor. And she laughs and says its skin is much stronger and larger and far too rough for a rug. And he's like, oh, so what is this? And she's like, oh, the rug is cut from its nether regions. He's like, nether regions? He's like, it's balls. That's when he panics and jumps back onto the bed, and looks at the woman whose back is to him, and she's sitting at a large writing desk, scribbling on a scroll. She explains how hard it was to slice off the serpent's nether regions without it noticing. While Nico is asking if there is anything on the bed that's also made from any other creature's genitalia. And she thinks for a moment and then laughs, which isn't very reassuring to Nico, who then climbs under the side table. When he does, she then says no, but her side tables are cut from the ass of a spectral beast, which causes him to panic and jump back to the bed. And he asks who she is. She then whips around in a terrifying pirate long coat, revealing that she is Princess Pirate Valanya Withers, the devil of the celestial seas. And as she says this, her hair burns violently red as she declares her station, and he whimpers backward. He asks why she took him, and she laughs and declares that he is now her consort, which is super confusing to him. And he's unable to really understand what the hell that means. But before he can really, figure out what's happening, the door bursts open, and Praj, the first mate, runs in yelling that they are under attack. As the door opens too, you can see like this massive other ship in the air, and the people are screaming and running around. And Valanya rips out a starry sword and a giant laser blunderbuss and runs out the door. Nico follows, where he sees this massive. Like, he sees that he's on a giant, sort of sailing ship, as you'd see, in Napoleon times, or, pirate kind of ship. It's got a big shield over it, so to protect you from, space. And it's got a single yellow solar sail that's carrying them along. There's giant cannons as well adorning the deck, and there's dozens of crew members spreading around and screaming and shooting. Nico is absolutely terrified, but he's too interested to not walk further outside because it's all confusing. And he comes quickly to the conclusion that he's obviously dreaming, and he's just gonna kind of enjoy what's happening, because that's the only possible thing. Clearly I haven't been taken away onto a spaceship, and there's a crazy pirate princess that wants to be with me. It's clearly just a it has to be a dream.
I'm dying. Yeah, I'm laying at the bottom of the mountain. My skull has been cracked open because I fell, and I am bleeding to death in the snow in lederhosen with a piece of pretzel stuck in my throat. This is fine. Yep. I'm okay with that.
And he's watching this whole crew dive onto their ship, and there's alien pirates fighting his own, the alien pirates are on his own ship, and the battle rages with him in the middle, and he's watching, convinced, of course, that it's a dream. That's until his arm is cut off, which causes him to scream violently as he stares at his missing limb with visceral anguish. Just before his head can be cut off, Valanya blows his attack, the attack, so, he just got his arm cut off. The person that cut off his arm is now going to swing at his head, but Valanya out of nowhere blows the attacker's head off, sending the guts all over Nico. So now he's covered in purple alien blood, and his arm's missing on the floor.
Alien guts. He's picked up his arm. He's trying to stick it back on.
She then grabs his his arm that's no longer an arm. It's just like his shoulder, and she uses her sword and presses against his wound, cauterizing it, and then gives him a blunderbuss and tells him to hold on to his arm, the one that's on the ground. And then she runs off and rejoins the fighting, leaving Nico still horrified. Praj, the first mate, who's also in love with Valanya, just tells him to just go ahead and die already, just get it over with, which Nico kind of wants to do, until he sees Blank Metz, the designated drunken latrine cleaner, like the short Wookiee-looking guy. He's getting his ass beat by a giant gorilla with an insanely large pickaxe. And Nico, he sees that the people on his team are kind of wearing the same color, so he realizes that Blank is one of the guys on his team, and this guy looks kind of helpless and looks like he needs help, and he's not just gonna let this small little man get beat by this massive guy when he's got a gun in his hand. And so he runs over, not quite realizing that the blunderbuss in his hand is a gun, and he instead uses it to block the killing blow that's about to stab Blank Metz. But
I thought he would use his arm.
Well, see, that would just
he
get
would
sliced
stick his
off.
arm in the way, and he gets sliced into two.
His arm's going to be useful later in the episode. So he blocks the hit with the blunderbuss, but it's a giant gorilla bear thing with a pickaxe. So the blow is obviously very strong, and it sends him flying backwards into the sort of like the side of the ship. And he's sort of struggling to get back up, and he sees that the giant, gorilla bear is now looking over him. And it's running at him, and he presses every button on the blunderbuss trying to get it to fire, but nothing is working. And in anger, he punches the side of it, which causes a massive blast to come out of it, eviscerating the gorilla and like half the crew of all the other of the enemy people.
Nice.
Blanks runs over to him and tells him, how great he is and how awesome that was, and he agrees. He's like, yeah, that was pretty cool, actually. What I just did.
I am pretty cool, actually.
The rest of the crew manages to take out the remaining of the enemy crew, and they're all driven away, and everyone's cheering, and Blank's calling for Nico to be the hero of the day. But Praj, interrupts the cheers as like the crew's all, talking about how great Nico is, and yells and scolds him, saying Nico is an idiot who not only lost his arm, but should be killed for blowing a massive hole in the deck. And this is when we'll pan over and see that blast he shot didn't only just wipe out a bunch of people, it also blew up like half the ship. So kind of a problem.
A little bit.
The ship it's still running, but there's a massive hole. Volanya stops him before he can ridicule too far and says the code doesn't, essentially there's some part of the pirate code that Praj is quoting, saying that they have to kill Nico. But Volanya steps in and says that the code doesn't apply to her consort. And then they have to, they're going to go to a dock for repairs and fix his arm. So we get a feeling that there's some sort of pirate code, and there's some sort of weird carve-outs for the consort of the pirate captain.
All right, cool.
Palm Quest, the navigator, this is where she's first introduced, intervenes and says that they can do both, fix his arm and repair the ship at a nearby planet, though it may require them getting close to Carnean space, which is the Carnean Empire is the sort of big baddies of our pirates, but also the big targets.
Yeah, so they have all the best ships, but they have all the best guns because they have the best ships.
Yeah, they got all the cool ships, but they also have every settlement that they can raid and steal from, and all the cargo and stuff that they want. So it might require them to go near there. Praj cautions Volanya and is like, last time we ran into that dreaded admiral, we don't want to do that again. But Volanya laughs and says that they will repair the ship Nico's arm and raid a settlement before Admiral Roke even leaves his nest. Everyone cheers. They're like, hell yeah, let's go. We're gonna raid some people. So Nico is carted off to a medical bay where the octopus cleans up his arm and seals both sides. And he says to hold on to it, not to lose his arm, or they'll have to give him one of his being the octopus's arm, which Nico does not.
And the octopus, he's joking.
Yeah,
Nico's
he thinks the octopus is joking,
right?
and then he looks at somebody else, and they have one of the octopus arms. He's like, oh shit, okay, I need to hold on to this.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is when Blank gives Nico the rundown of the ship. He explains Praj, who's, the first mate, Palm Quest, the navigator, and Princess Volanya Withers, their captain, and the devil of the celestial seas. She's the daughter of the great pirate king, Syke Withers, who's the most dangerous pirate in the galaxy and is the lord of all who sail for plunder and freedom. So, intimidating.
Sounds cool.
They reach a small port city on a swampy planet, and they begin repairs while Nico, Blank, Praj, Palm, and Volanya all venture to find the special goo that will heal Nico's arm. Apparently, part of the pirate code demands that if they're going on a quest like this, they can only bring 3 people, and that has to include the navigator, the first mate, 4 people: the navigator, the first mate, the captain, and anyone else that's directly connected to the quest, which would be Nico. So Blank's not allowed, and Praj, of course, brings this up immediately. But Nico begged for Blank to come, and there's this obscure provision that allows the captain to circumvent certain pirate codes when the consort begs them to. So could be important.
Sounds like whoever wrote this code was horny as fuck all the time.
There's a lot of exceptions for the consort.
Yeah. Which is pretty funny, because that's very piratey, to just be fucking horned up all the time and not use your head.
Well, see, that wasn't where I was going with it. The reveal that would happen eventually is that the pirate code's written by, Syke Withers, the pirate king. But all the carve-outs were written by his... Because Volanya is half human, all the carve-outs were written by his human wife, who wanted to be able to do things as well. So she put all these little exceptions in. Yeah, it's Amelia Earhart. Yes, Amelia Earhart was the pirate king's
is the pirate queen
wife.
Consort. Yeah. Great.
And
perfect.
So she put all these little exceptions in so that she could, circumvent all the rules if she needed to.
Yeah. That makes sense. I like that.
Volanya and Palm lead the way while Praj throughout the trip is trying to constantly kill both Blank and Nico or leave them behind. Blank explains that Praj is deeply in love with Volanya, which Nico kind of got. You'll get that before. You'll understand, obviously, before this. But Praj is going to, Blank is going to make it very clear that Praj is, that's why he's trying to kill Nico. Which Nico's okay with it. Sure, he can be with her. I don't care. Just why was I abducted? Like, why did you take me? I don't understand this. And they'll go through the big swamp and they'll finally get the goo. But Praj will be the one that actually grabs it. He'll drop it on purpose into the swamp and be like, oh, well, I guess we can't save Nico. Nico loses his arm. Maybe we should just kill him. There's no point keeping him.
Yeah.
But Volanya,
what's a one-armed concert?
While he's saying this, she takes off her coat. She's like folding it down, putting it down. She's like handing stuff to Palm Quest, and then she just dives into the swamp. Which horrifies Praj, and he starts screaming that, there's monsters in there, and she's going to die, and it's somehow Nico's fault, even though Praj is the one that dropped it in. And as he's yelling at Nico, Nico's like, you know what? F it. I'm jumping in, too. And he jumps in, and he swims down. He finds Volanya trying to grab the goo while she's fighting this invincible sea monster at the bottom of the sea. And they're struggling to try to fight it off. She's using her sword, but it can't cut its skin. And eventually, Nico will just sort of slap it with his hand, his arm that, is not attached to him. And he'll slap it in the eye, which is essentially this monster's weakness, and it just screams and it goes away. It runs away. So, useful. And they'll all escape with his arm reattached to Nico. He finally got his arm back, which is great. And he'll get a kiss from Volanya, which slightly burns his skin. And then they quickly raid a small village before running off into space. But just as they disappear into the void of space, a giant menacing battleship will appear, like essentially right where they just were. And at the helm, angry that he just missed the pirate princess, and is Admiral Roke, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Really upset and mad because he missed her, but he's smiling when he hears from some of the people that were raided that the princess has a new consort. And he's like, ooh, okay.
Ooh, I'll use this guy against
exactly.
her. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually from Earth, and so he's kind of like, ooh, interesting. He's like a World War II pilot who got stuck in space. He became a big weird captain.
Maybe. I don't know. That is the pilot episode.
I like it. It's fun. It's fun. It's goofy. It's a little silly.
Did you have any inkling of I was going space?
I didn't think space. Pirate. With the title like My Bavarian Boyfriend, I thought maybe it was I figured there would have to be some sort of otherworldly supernatural element to it. I didn't think space. I thought there was going to be time travel. I thought maybe like some sort of fantasy thing or something like that. But I like it. I think it's cool. I'm interested as to why the princess decided to just pick this guy. Just some fucking German dude in lederhosen, like a nerd.
For spoilers, essentially the reason is going to be for pretty early we'll get her claim on what the reason is. She'll say that it's like traditional for the pirate, captain to steal somebody from a planet and marry them. Essentially, it's like the classic pirate code. It's what Psych Withers claims he did. It's what everybody sort of says that they like. It's what everyone says they do. But we'll learn that Psych Withers also didn't steal Amelia Earhart or whoever the wife is. And he actually just sort of ran into her in the same way that Nico ran into Valanya, which is she didn't grab him because she was trying to get him. She grabbed him because he was about to fall to his death, and she wasn't going to let him die. But she can't tell people that because that doesn't make her seem like a menacing pirate, princess. She's gotta be tough, gotta be cool.
Psych Withers
tell people that she
saved-
felt bad that some random guy was going to die.
Yeah. Psych Withers saved Amelia from the plane, like as it was crashing. Teleported her onto his spaceship. She saved this little lederhosen draped German boy as he was falling off a hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
then she falls for him.
It'll be a slow burn with that. She'll make it seem like she just likes him because she has to, because she stole him. But over time she'll actually grow to like him, and he'll grow to like her. It's part of the the show. If we're gonna have a show that's called My Bavarian Boyfriend, you got to have a romance.
There has to be some romantic plot or subplot,
But I also have a bit of a not a love triangle, but like a love. A triangle without one side, I guess.
Pentagram, a line.
No, but there's got to be an open
line.
side, I guess. I don't know what it's called.
That's what a love triangle is. There has to be 3 people involved. That's it.
But there's no. I guess it is a love triangle. But there's no connecting line between the bottom 2. Anyway.
Yeah.
2 people will like the same person, and that is Valanya Withers' sister, Hylia Withers. So I'm trying to do like the. If you've watched Teen Titans, there was Starfire and her sister. What was she called? Blackfire or something like that?
Blackfire. Yeah, Blackfire.
Something like that.
I think.
It was Blackfire. And she's like, except it'll be kind of the opposite. So in Teen Titans, it's, Robin, Starfire, and Blackfire is kind of like the bad girl of the family, and Starfire is like the really sweet person. In this case, Valanya Withers is kind of like her dad, chip off the old block, really tough pirate princess, gonna attack people and stuff. But she's got like a sort of a sweet side to her as well. Princess Hylia Withers is sister of Valanya, known as evil by her family. So whenever she's referenced before we finally do meet her. Valanya will always talk about how her sister is the most evil person in the galaxy, and no one will ever come close to her, and she's much worse than even her dad is. And we'll come to meet her, and she's going to seem like the sweetest person in the entire world, and has this small kingdom on an ideal, this really nice, sort of oasis planet, and Nico and the whole crew will be like, oh, okay, so she was just, maybe because she's evil, that's why she thinks Hylia is evil, because she's good, it's like sort of that situation. No, it's going to turn out that Hylia just puts on this fucking act to pretend that she's good to everybody, but in reality she's like this really messed up, super twisted, siphoning off the energy of all of her people, and sort of like a vampiric kind of person. And she'll pretend to be nice to you just to get whatever she needs from you, kind of just super terrible.
Yeah,
doing
way worse,
messing up
than
this
her
whole
sister.
oasis planet, slowly destroying it from the inside out. Yeah, horrific stuff, which no one will get except for Valanya. Everyone on the whole ship, even Palm Quest, the best friend of Valanya, will be like, "Oh no, Hylia's great. It seems like she's so nice." And by the end of the episode, you'll be like. They'll all be like, oh, shit, we should have just listened to Valanya the whole time. She was right.
Maybe we should have listened to our captain. Maybe she had an inkling of what was going on here.
Yeah, maybe she knows what her sister's like.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. Maybe. Just possibly.
And what's Arnold's story? Why is he happy about her consort?
Because he's going to, that's a weakness
curious.
that he's going to see over time to possibly there's gonna be lots of, he kidnaps Nico Rosberg and he's like holding him captive, and that's when Nico will be like questioning him, like, why do you actually hate Valanya and it's like Withers, and he's not really getting much of a real answer. It doesn't really make sense because he's not actually part of the Empire anymore. He's like a rogue admiral who's just sort of chasing them down, and he like almost just doesn't even have a reason anymore. But maybe it'll be revealed that he was Amelia Earhart's Earth sweetheart who went to go find her, and was abducted by the Carnians and told that his wife was stolen by the pirate, and now that's why he's out for revenge. Not only hates the Psych Withers because he stole his wife, but hates Valanya because he's the daughter of the guy that stole his wife, and he's the daughter that he should have had.
Yeah. Or maybe he has like some really stupid reason that he hates them all. Like, I don't know. What? All the years of chasing them has made me go gray. And he takes off his wig and his hair looks exactly the same, except there's like a couple pieces of gray hair.
Strands. It's like
He's
one
like,
or two.
I look disgusting. How could anyone ever love a monster like me? And it's all your fault.